My parents blew all their savings on traveling and expect me to take care of them when they're old. I told them to save some money in the bank for emergencies, but they thought I was after their money, refused my advice, and went off on their worldwide adventures, living it up everywhere. 3 years later, they squandered a fortune and turned to me, asking me to take them in and support them in their old age. In my previous life, I softened, let them stay, and they conned me with my brother, taking over my house and leaving me homeless. I died in misery, under a bridge, at the hands of some thugs. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my parents returned from their travels, asking for my help. Lucia, where are you living now? Your dad and I got you some local specialties. Thought you'd like to try them. I heard my mom's familiar voice on the phone, snapping me back to reality. Somehow, I had been reborn and found myself 2 years back. At the time, my parents called about bringing some gifts from their trip for me. I was so touched since they didn't care much about me growing up. Without a second thought, I sent them my address and welcomed them into my home, completely unguarded. Soon, they asked to stay long-term, and I agreed without hesitation. But they teamed up with my brother to seize my home and money, kicking me out onto the streets, where I met a tragic end. As I delayed my response, my mom thought the signal was off and repeated her words with a hint of impatience in her voice. Her voice gave me chills. This time around, I was determined to live for myself and not let fake family ties ruin me again. Mom, I'm not home. Why don't you give the treats to my brother? Becky and my nephew would love them. There was a pause as she processed that. Then she said, send me your address and the door code. I'll wait for you at your place. They wanted my door code. Not in this lifetime. Mom, my lock isn't a code lock, it needs a key. The key is with me. So maybe next time you can visit. When will you be back? Mom was exasperated, confident I wouldn't dare say no since I seldom had before. I got sent out of state for work, won't be back for months, I replied, lounging on my couch, planning to get the locks changed ASAP. Can't talk now, Mom. My boss will kill me if I slack off. I hung up before she could protest, switching my phone to airplane mode. I grabbed my spare phone and quickly got a local contractor to change the door for $3,000. Security's shaky lately, want us to install a security camera too. We have a promotional offer, they suggested. Knowing how dogged my parents were, a camera wasn't a bad idea. Sure, install the priciest one with the clearest audio and video quality. I packed my things, grabbed a ticket, and headed to Thailand for a break. Once I landed, I switched my phone back on. My dad was calling. Lucia, your mom and I are broke. Sold the house too. Can't we stay at your place? I chuckled coldly. I had opposed selling the house and warned them to save, but they split the money between my brother and more travels, ignoring my advice. Now they wanted my help after blowing it all. Dad, doesn't my brother have a place? You should ask him. He and Becky are settled there. We'd be intruding, Dad said awkwardly. But them intruding on me was fine. And didn't you always say sons are for old age support, not daughters? I added. My mom, who was eavesdropping, finally snapped. Getting bold, are you? Got yourself a job and a home, and now you won't take care of us. We raised you. You owe us for your education. Colder than ever, remembering how I paid for college through loans and part-time work and how Mom opposed my education, thinking I should marry early. When I wanted to buy a place, she said a woman's task was to marry well. Dad, I've said I'm not coming back. Find my brother. I hung up, leaving the phone off. Looking up at the clear Thai skies, I felt a weight lift. Given a second chance, I'd live well and leave toxic people behind. Lying in the hotel, I mused over the past and became curious. Would my parents try to impose on my brother? I remembered gifting them a smart TV with a camera for monitoring, and Becky once asked to activate it to catch my nephew watching cartoons. Logging into the app, I was surprised to see I still had access to my brother's living room monitor. If they are moving at a good pace and nothing held them up, Mom and Dad should be just about at my brother's place now, right? Sure enough, it wasn't long before my brother's doorbell rang. Right now, only Becky was at home, and she was resting in her room. Being woken up like this, she didn't look too happy when she came out of her room. Who is it? Becky opened the door and saw my parents there loaded with bags. The TV was set at an angle facing the door, so the surveillance caught the whole scene. Becky, it's your parents, Dad said with a sheepish smile. Mom, on the other hand, didn't hold back, and just pushed past Becky into the house. Over the years, Mom and Becky put on a polite front, but deep down, they couldn't stand each other. Where's my grandson? Where did he go? Becky rolled her eyes when she thought no one was looking. Where else? Who has time to sit around like you two? It's Tuesday. Jasper definitely went to kindergarten. Mom was doing her usual inspection, looking around the living room, the kitchen, and then heading to their room without Becky's permission. Becky was not having it. Mom, that's my room. Can you not just barge in like that? When I lived at home, Mom did the same. She never knocked, even if the door was locked. She'd just walk right in. She had a key to every room in the house. Ever since Becky married my brother, she hadn't lived a full day under the same roof with my mom. If she did, she probably couldn't take it as long as I did. Who knows if you've let any riffraff inside? Mom muttered, thinking Becky couldn't hear, but Becky's face turned dark. Becky wasn't me. She wouldn't tolerate Mom like I did. My brother had spoiled her, making her even more willful. Mom, what riffraff are you talking about? Sensing things weren't going well, Dad quickly stepped in and pulled out some stuff from the luggage they brought. Becky, don't be mad. Check out what we brought for Jasper and you two on this trip. Over the years, they spent $4 million traveling to various countries. Mom loved her luxuries and bought tons of bags, makeup, toys, and stuff from duty-free shops. That's how they blew through all that money in just 3 short years. Seeing these things, Becky's anger eased up a bit, and she started to warmly welcome Dad and Mom. My brother heard the folks were visiting, so he left work early and picked up Jasper. Hey, how long are you guys staying this time? Where are you off to next? My brother excitedly pulled a roast duck leg and put it into Mom's bowl. Mom and Dad's faces looked a bit off before Becky chimed in. Mom, Dad, we're thinking of changing Jasper's kindergarten. Want to send him to a fancy one. We're just a bit short on cash. Ever since they got married, the couple had turned to Mom and Dad for cash often. With those words, who here wouldn't know they were hinting for money again? But they had no clue. Mom and Dad were broke, no cash left, not even for a hotel stay. Mom, Becky, a kindergarten is a kindergarten no matter where he goes. Frequent school changes aren't good for him, you know. Dad backed her up too. My brother didn't even touch his roast duck anymore, his face turning sour. You guys always say Jasper is your darling, and now you're stingy about sending him to a nice kindergarten. Not to be rude, but you have money to gallivant around the globe, but penny pinch when it comes to your own family. Seeing this scene, I just about choked on my water. My brother wasn't completely wrong. Mom and Dad were frugal, but only with me, their daughter. With Becky and their grandson, they were far from stingy. Did they forget they already sent over half the house payment before jetting off? What ordinary family just hands over millions like that? But they did, because nothing was too much for their son. Dad knew the jig was up. He was a terrible liar, so he just came out with the truth. We're broke. This time we came to see if we could stay here, because we've got nowhere else to go. Becky and my brother exchanged glances. My brother chuckled and said, Dad, you must be joking. That was millions. No way, it's all gone. Becky, exactly, Mom. If you really were out of money, how did you manage to buy all those luxury items? It's precisely because they were spending big and flying everywhere for 3 years that the money vanished so fast. In my past life, when I heard they were broke, it shocked me too. That was 4 million, all gone in 3 years. They didn't even think to save a little for a rainy day, but they said they were still young, that they could always make more money. So I moved on. But my brother, he couldn't let it go. Is it really all gone? Not a penny left. How could you be so wasteful? That was 4 million. You should have just given it all to me instead. Dad was not pleased to hear that. Didn't we already give you 4 million? If you really don't want us here, just give us our money back, and we'll buy another house. My brother and Becky looked like the world was ending when Dad mentioned getting the money back. They huddled up, whispered a bit, and when they came back, their attitude had softened considerably. My brother, Dad, Mom, you can stay here, no worries. It's not like we don't have room. My sister-in-law, yeah, Jasper has been missing his grandparents. It'd be great if you could spend more time with him. I didn't buy it. I didn't believe for a second that my brother and his wife genuinely welcomed my parents in. They were likely up to something. Sure enough, just as they'd calmed Mom and Dad down, my brother tried to call me. I didn't answer. He called several times. Then Becky started trying. When that didn't work, they texted me. Emergency, something happened with Mom and Dad. Get over here now. Do they think I'm dumb? Maybe in my last life, I would have been duped into going back, but not this time. No way do I want anything to do with that family again. Bad vibes. My brother probably figured they could dump Mom and Dad at my place. In the last life, he was the one who egged them on to move in with me, inching his way into taking over my place bit by bit. He was probably getting real nervous about not getting through to me, wondering if I'd somehow heard about their trick and made a break for it. 3. They want to live with our parents even less than I do. These days, whenever Mom and Becky get together, they fight non-stop, and it drives him crazy. So, my brother sneaked off to the office to use some insider connections to check the address of my property. He's working for a real estate company. When I first bought the house, they didn't support my decision at all and didn't offer any help. So I never told them where I'd purchased it. He searched using the household registration book that Mom gave him. It had my ID info on it. It didn't take long for him to find out my house was in a fancy neighborhood. When he found out I lived in District 1, he was shocked. After all, the housing prices there go for over 100k per square meter. Only the rich and the famous live nearby. He couldn't believe that his sister, who lived off scholarship, could afford a place like that. He checked over and over to make sure he didn't make a mistake. Yep, I'd kept things on the down low. I became a blogger online. Thanks to live streaming and selling stuff, I've made millions. But in my past life, I trusted my family way too much. I told them about my house and finances, and it was like inviting a wolf into your home. Thinking back to how I got scammed, I just want to slap myself. Since they couldn't reach me, and my family was in an uproar, my brother didn't wait any longer. He took my sister-in-law, Mom, and Dad straight to my place. They even found a locksmith, ready to break into my home. Good thing I had some foresight, and installed a camera at the door. I called the property management right away. Being one of their VIP residents, they sent someone to handle it quickly. My parents made a fuss, claiming that since I'm their daughter, my house was theirs, and they were just worried about my safety. Sorry, we're here to protect the property as instructed by the owner. If you insist on unlocking the door, we'll have to call the police on you for trespassing, they said. I didn't expect the property management to be so great. I loved hearing that. The 5-figure yearly management fee finally felt worth it. My family grumbled at the door for a while, but in the end, security led them out. Once they were really gone, the property manager sent me a message updating me on the situation. If they come back, we'll handle it the same way, I said, and sent over a fat tip. They happily agreed. After the plan flopped, my parents went home with my brother and sister-in-law. Becky had to suck it up and live with my parents for a while. During this time, all the housework fell on my mom. Dad was no help at all, totally clueless about chores, making things worse. Becky kept hinting that my parents were freeloaders. Mom's pride took a hit, so she pretended she'd do all the cooking and cleaning for my brother's family, and manage picking the kid up and taking him places. That's the only thing that got Becky to stop complaining a bit. I remembered when I was home, Mom never lifted a finger, just barked orders about what she wanted to eat, and I'd have to buy groceries and cook. Washing clothes for everyone was on me too. Even then, they called me a waste, and during summer or winter breaks, if I didn't get a job, they'd just roll their eyes calling me a moocher. Now it's Mom's turn to feel that. My folks ran out of money. They had to ask my brother for cash to buy groceries. Mom, I've already handed over my whole paycheck. If you want money, ask Becky, he said. My brother just washed his hands clean, leaving everything to fend for itself. On the camera, I watched my mom, swallowing her pride, go ask Becky for money. She got mocked before finally getting some grocery money, and still had to head out early to shop and serve the whole family. Serves her right, for sure. Bad luck sticks to bad people. I ordered takeout in my hotel, ate fried chicken with a beer, watching it on my big screen. It was more entertaining than any drama series. By 8 p.m., my brother returned home, totally exhausted, just in time to catch Mom and Becky at each other's throat. It started because Mom took my nephew out for ice cream, and it upset his stomach, making him sick all night. Becky was furious. "You old fool. Trying to harm my beloved son. If anything happens to him, I'll have your head." But really, the kid just got a chill. Protected by Becky, he cried non-stop, claiming he couldn't go to school and was in pain, demanding treats. My brother usually spoils his son, so he quickly joined Becky's side, scolding my mom. Mom felt wronged. Dad, of no use, just watched his wife get yelled at without a word. "I'm not staying here anymore to put up with this," Mom hollered before storming off. Dad hastily pulled her aside, whispering, "We've got no money left, dear. If we don't stay here, where do we go?" Mom was outraged and talked nonsense, but when Becky heard her, she instantly perked up. "Fine, then just leave." Ever since my parents moved in, my brother hadn't known peace. After some heavy consideration, he decided to send them off. He pulled Dad aside and slipped some money from his wallet into his hand. "Dad, go find a nearby hotel for you and Mom. I'll figure something out later to bring you back." Dad couldn't handle the daily bickering anymore either. He took the cash and packed up their stuff. Before leaving, Mom shot Becky one last glare. What a piece of work. I couldn't help but clap at this point. That's what they call, what goes around, comes around. In the past, when my brother dated Becky, I warned Mom about her bad temper. I had taken Becky out once, and she abused a waiter over a trivial thing, making the poor girl cry. I was scared from the experience and told Mom, who later told my brother I spoke poorly of Becky. Even now, my brother and Becky still don't have a good impression of me. The cash my brother gave Dad wasn't much. My parents had gotten used to the good life. They wouldn't stay in some cheap hotel, opting for high-end spots that cost hundreds a night. Just a matter of days, and they'd burned through it all. During this time, they still didn't give up trying to contact me. Realizing they couldn't get through, they figured I was avoiding them on purpose, and went crazy tagging me in our family group chat. Late at night, my phone was blowing up with calls from relatives. That's how I found out what was happening. Apparently, in our family group chat, they were accusing me of mistreating them and kicking them out of the house. What? It was Becky who mistreated them, and my older brother who kicked them out, not me. How could they pin this on me? I kept reading. I saw my parents saying how hard they worked to raise me, only for me to graduate, grow wings, and ignore them completely. They painted me as an ungrateful daughter. In the eyes of our relatives, they were the perfect couple, the model parents. So everyone sided with them, calling me unfilial, and some even called to try and talk me into behaving. The messages were over 99, with dozens of missed calls and many text messages, all attacking me. One of my cousins, a wannabe influencer, for clout, posted screenshots of the chat online, sparking a lot of attention. Some people even dug up my info online, and surprisingly, some netizens managed to find out who I was and exposed my online persona. I had a few million followers online, and happened to have an upcoming live streaming sales event. As soon as I entered the streaming room, a bunch of strangers flooded in. They weren't my followers, yet they started insulting me, saying I was bleeding my parents dry while portraying myself as some kind of inspirational figure. They accused me of being corrupt and claiming all the products I promoted were fake. Even rival companies jumped in to troll me for attention. This whole thing blew my cover. Becky was online shopping when she saw the trending topic and was shocked. She rushed to my brother and asked, "Is this your sister?" I didn't dress up at home, and we hadn't interacted in years. Since jumping into live stream selling, I learned some excellent makeup tricks, and with the help of filters, I looked quite different. So, they hadn't recognized me. My brother was also surprised, a hint of jealousy in his eyes. He knew how lucrative live streaming sales could be, having wanted to delve into it himself, but couldn't make it work. Seeing his sister, whom he always looked down upon, succeed silently as an online sales influencer, how could he not be jealous? I let the rumors swirl for a while. The company urged me to address it, and even some partner companies demanded an explanation. Because of my personal issues, their product quality was being questioned, and I needed to take responsibility. But I didn't say a word. I didn't respond to any of the messages in the family group chat either. I consulted a lawyer, and they advised me to gather all the evidence and strike back hard. I got copies of all my bank statements since high school graduation. Weren't my parents the ones saying they always spoiled their daughter instead of their son? Didn't they claim they bought me a house, and I turned my back on them, leaving them homeless. Didn't they accuse me of being a parasite after graduation, not working, and only asking them for money? Even claimed that the car I drive was bought by an old man who was supporting me. I compiled all the evidence, posted it in the family group, and tagged that influencer cousin. Then I posted a lawyer's letter on my personal account, along with the evidence. It included student loans, proving my college tuition was covered by state loans that I paid off through work after graduation. During college, the only financial support I received from my parents was a 200 yuan transfer in my first year of school, nothing after that. I also included pay slips from jobs I worked while studying, proving I wasn't living off my parents like some privileged princess. After graduation, I sent my mom 2,000 yuan monthly for living expenses. The car was given to me by my company. As for the house, I bought it with a mortgage and my paycheck, having nothing to do with my parents financially. This evidence thoroughly discredited the accusations from relatives and online trolls. Public opinion swung in my favor, and my cousin deleted her posts and sent me an apology. Since she was the source of the online rumors, the platform warned her, and she vented her frustration at my aunt, blaming my parents for the misunderstanding and the online backlash. My aunt went off on my parents in the family group, scolding them so much they didn't dare look at their phones. They declined all relative calls. Everything that initially targeted me backfired on them. I took advantage of the traffic and held another live streaming event, hitting the top of the sales charts. Opportunities kept rolling in. My parents' reputation was ruined in the family group. They thought they could pressure me into coming back with help from relatives. In the end, I didn't return, and they were left in a mess. With no money and nowhere to stay, they had no choice but to sheepishly go back to my brother. When they entered his neighborhood, they saw a middle-aged couple holding my nephew. They didn't know this couple and thought my nephew was being snatched, so they started a fight. Becky rushed over, stunned. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing?" But she wasn't addressing my parents. She was talking to the middle-aged couple. Becky and my brother only got a marriage certificate, no wedding, so my parents had never met her parents. At first, they were embarrassed, chalking it up to a misunderstanding, but their smiles quickly faded when they realized her parents lived in the same neighborhood as my brother. They knew houses that cost 3 to 4 million each, and thought her family was poor, just farmers. Had it not been for my brother having a technical school diploma and Becky graduating college, my mom wouldn't have approved of their relationship. 5. Given the situation in their family, there's no way they could buy a house here. My brother couldn't handle my mom's nagging, so he spilled the truth. Turns out, the 4 million yuan meant for the house went to Becky's parents for buying their own place. My folks were about to pass out when they heard that. "Get the money back, make them return it." Becky sneered. "That money was a gift from you, why should we return it? Besides, isn't your money basically my husband's money? My husband let me use the money freely. What's wrong with buying a house for my own parents?" Their argument was so loud that I could hear it clearly on my phone, even without the speaker on. "Can't believe there are people like Becky with no shame. You have some nerve. How is this your money? It's clearly what my husband and father saved over decades for retirement. You don't want to pay it back. Fine." Becky's eyes lit up. "Then have your parents move out, so we can live there. After all, it's our money that bought it, so it's really our house." Becky's face darkened again. She pulled out her trump card and started talking about divorcing my brother. She said if my parents wanted the money or house, she'd divorce my brother and take my nephew away so my brother would never see him again. My nephew started crying. "I hate Grandpa. I hate Grandma. Can't you two just leave my house?" Mom's been so upset lately that when she heard this, she clutched her chest, breathing heavily, and fainted. My brother called an ambulance right away. During this, he couldn't reach me and ended up contacting my agency. Luna from the agency called me and explained the situation. My brother claimed Mom had a heart attack and was dying, insisting I come to see her one last time. If I didn't go back, he threatened to post a video online about how heartless and ungrateful I was. That move was pretty ruthless. If Mom really got sick because of them, and I didn't show up, they might even blame me for her death. But he didn't know I had a good friend from college working at the hospital they went to. We've been tight since back in school, and when Mom was admitted, I asked him to keep an eye on her for me. Sure enough, soon after, he messaged me, "Your mom's woken up, but she's refusing to leave the hospital, insisting I issue a critical condition notice. Mom's health has always been good. She only fainted from anger. A few glucose drips and she'd be fine to leave. If she's staying, it's clearly to guilt trip me into coming back." No way was I letting her have her way. I told my cousin about all this. She had her own issues and had been cyberbullied for a long time. She really resented my parents. When I offered her a chance to clear her name, she didn't hesitate to say yes. I tagged everyone in the family group chat, stating that Mom was in the hospital, but due to the drama and exhaustion, I'd also ended up hospitalized and couldn't return home to see her. I asked if any relatives could visit her instead. I even posted a picture of me with an 4 drip in the hospital. Mom didn't even get a chance to say anything before my cousin piped up, "I've got time. I'll be at the hospital soon. Sis, don't worry." My mom was expecting me, but my cousin showed up instead. I had my friend arrange a private room for them. Mom, Dad, my brother, and his wife were discussing how to trick me into coming back to get my money. Everything they said got recorded by my cousin on her visit. In the video, my brother, "When that girl comes back, we'll have her transfer the house to Mom. No way should an outsider benefit." Mom, exactly. "And once the transfer is done, we find a man to marry her off. The dowry can be used to buy your dad a car. Becky, let's put it towards my son's kindergarten fees first. We're short 300,000 and the dowry's just right. Dad, I think we should use it for a down payment on a house." Nephew, "No, I want to eat good food and go to theme parks. When's auntie coming back?" Mom said her money would be mine for a bride someday. When my cousin showed me the video, I was shaking with anger. I'd seen their cruelty in a past life, but never thought they could be this shameless. I'm part of their family too. I'm not even dead, and they're already planning my assets. Are they dreaming in broad daylight? My mom and the rest didn't know about the video. My brother got a reply from my agency saying I wouldn't come back, and in anger, they recorded a video from Mom's hospital room and posted it. In the video, my mom looked frail, hooked up to an 4, accusing me of being an ungrateful daughter for not visiting. Even if there's a falling out between family, one shouldn't be so heartless when they are sick. All that matters is money for her now, right? Doesn't care about old ties anymore. But her family didn't treat her well in the first place. If your mom were dying, would you ignore her just because of some harsh words? Wouldn't you want to see her one last time? Reading the comments, I realized there was no shortage of self-proclaimed righteous folks online. After the video spread for a while, I signaled my cousin to release the video. My cousin, who had held back for so long, was excited to finally upload it with a lengthy explanation. At first, I was blinded by my aunt's family and wrongly accused my sister. I finally understand why she never wanted to return home. This house is full of bloodsuckers. The previous incident was hugely popular, and many were eagerly following up. So it didn't take long for my cousin's video to go viral and get shared by many influencers. The bizarre statements from my parents and brother in the video led to heated discussions, and even made it to the trending list. Now, everyone across the country knows about them. Even bloggers were posting overnight guideposts on how to break free from toxic families. 6. The people who used to sympathize with my mom are now eating their words. Having a family like that is such bad luck. To those defending them, I hope you end up with parents like that too. Anyway, my mom's plan didn't work out. Now, not only among our relatives, but even in the neighborhood, some folks who saw the video are gossiping about my brother and sister-in-law. I reported my brother to the real estate company for abusing his power and illegally checking people's property records. He got fired and fined. At Becky's private school, the parent committee united against her, saying they didn't want someone with poor character teaching their kids. The school gave in and suspended Becky. Even my nephew got rejected from the international preschool he had applied to. Becky blames my parents for her mess and wants to divorce my brother. My brother, overwhelmed, threw my parents out and refused to give them any money. With no money or place to go, my parents started causing a scene at my apartment complex. But before they could get in, security removed them. They lingered outside for ages, and when it started raining, they ended up sleeping under a bridge. Just when they were dozing off, they got robbed. In my past life, I was assaulted by the same robber. He saw me alone and attacked. I struggled, and he strangled me to death. He saw my parents this time. I'd my mom's necklace, and snatched it. My dad tried to stop him, but got beaten up badly, almost ending up with a bleeding stomach. My mom pleaded for mercy. Then, the police showed up, and the robber fled. My cousin described the scene to me like she was standing right there. Serves them right. She called me, all secretive. Hey, sis, guess what happened next? Leaning on my ocean view balcony, feeling the breeze, I calmly asked, what happened next? Your parents stormed back to your brother's house. They found your brother, sister-in-law, and her parents having a family moment with your nephew. Your mom, raging, grabbed a knife from the kitchen and attacked your sister-in-law's parents. They got seriously hurt, and Becky went crazy, picked up a knife, and fought back. Your mom got injured, and when your dad and brother tried to stop it, those two crazy women stabbed them into the ICU. Now the family group chat is asking for donations for medical bills. I heard they've put the house up for sale, but nobody's biting since they bought it at a high point. Sis, you better not come back, or you'll get caught up in this mess again. I let out a long breath, feeling like their fate was deserved. Why would I be dumb enough to go back? I took another 2 weeks off from my agency and booked myself a flight. Tomorrow, I'm going diving in Malaysia. In a few days, I'm off to Europe to see the pigeons. I'm busy, too busy for these messed up people and their drama. Before leaving, I did my makeup, took a cute selfie, and posted it on social media. Data doesn't lie. If you see this, leave I'm doing great comment and make peace with the past. You'll find more luck. My cousin was quick and hit like instantly, commenting, I'm doing great, and it'll only get better. The end.